Engines rumbled outside Ruby's diner, shaking the dusty windows and silencing every conversation inside. The lunch crowd froze mid-bite, forks halfway to their mouths as 6 bikers rolled into the parking lot. They weren't the kind of men you ignored. Leather vests, steel boots, tattoos curling up sunburned arms, and eyes that told stories no one dared to ask about. Their leader, Hawk, was the kind of man who didn't need to raise his voice to command a room. His beard was streaked with gray, his hands scarred from old battles, and there was something steady, almost fatherly, in the way he moved. He pushed open the diner door, the bell above it jingling nervously, and nodded to the waitress. "Coffee, black. For all of us," he said simply. The other bikers, Diesel, Bear, Trigger, and the twins, Smoke and Ash, took their seats, laughing about the long ride and the busted pipe on Trigger's bike. The tension in the room slowly eased as the smell of fresh coffee filled the air. Locals had seen the Iron Sons before. They weren't troublemakers, though they looked it. They rode for charity rides, veterans' funerals, and once even escorted a bullied kid to his high school graduation. But they liked to keep to themselves, and most folks didn't bother them. Then the door slammed open, so hard that the bell snapped off and clattered to the floor. A little girl stood there, barefoot, hair tangled, face streaked with dirt and tears. She couldn't have been more than 8. Her voice came out between shaky breaths. "Please, somebody help!" she cried. "They're beating my mama!" The diner went completely still. Even the jukebox in the corner seemed to stop. A man at the counter whispered, "Not again," but didn't move. The waitress froze, coffee pot trembling in her hand. Hawk was already on his feet. "Where, sweetheart?" he asked, his voice calm but urgent. She pointed down the road with a trembling hand. "The trailer park. By the junkyard." "He's hurting her, please!" For a split second, nobody breathed. Then Hawk turned to his crew. "Let's go!" 6 men stood up at once. Boots thudded. Coffee was left untouched. Bills fluttered under the cups. They didn't ask questions. They never needed to when Hawk spoke that way. Outside, the sound of engines roared back to life. The little girl flinched at first, but Hawk crouched down, meeting her tearful eyes. "You ride with me, okay? Hold on tight," he said gently. She nodded, climbing onto the back of his Harley. Her tiny hands gripped the rough leather of his vest. He kicked the engine, and the whole world seemed to shake with the thunder of their machines. The trailer park came into view just minutes later, a forgotten patch of land lined with rusted metal homes and half-dead trees. The air smelled like gasoline and old rain. From one of the trailers came shouting, a man's voice, raw and slurred with rage. "You think you can talk back to me?" A crash followed. The sound of glass breaking. Hawk's jaw tightened. He told the girl, "Stay behind my bike. Don't move until I say so." She nodded, clutching her small hands together. He walked straight toward the noise, Diesel and Bear behind him. The other 3 spread out, forming a quiet wall of muscle around the trailer. The door was half open, swinging on one hinge. Hawk pushed it aside and stepped in. Inside, a man was standing over a woman, yelling, red-faced, his arm drawn back for another hit. The woman lay on the floor, clutching her face, her lips split, her breath coming in shallow sobs. "Hey!" Hawk's voice cut through the chaos like a blade. The man spun around, eyes bloodshot, bottle in hand. "Who the hell are you?" He spat. "Doesn't matter," Hawk said. "You're done," the man laughed bitterly. "You think I'm scared of a bunch of bikers? Get the hell out before I—" He didn't finish the sentence. Bear was already moving. A mountain of a man, 6'5" and built like a freight train. He grabbed the man by the collar and slammed him against the wall so hard the plaster cracked. The bottle fell and shattered. "Don't." Bear's voice was quiet, but it carried weight. The man tried to struggle, but one twist of Bear's hand froze him. Hawk stepped closer, calm but cold. "You hit a woman? You answer for it." "That's how it works," Hawk said. "Now you're gonna pack your trash, get in your car, and disappear. You come back. I swear you won't have hands left to hit anyone with." The man glared, but his bravado faltered when Hawk's icy stare met his. He spat on the floor. "Fine, she ain't worth it anyway." Hawk nodded once. "Good choice." Bear let him go, and the man stumbled out, cursing and clutching his arm. He threw his things into an old pickup truck and sped off, tires screeching on the dirt road. Inside, Diesel knelt beside the woman. She looked up, tears cutting through bruises on her cheeks. "My daughter," she whispered. "She's safe," Hawk said. Outside, the woman's shoulders sagged, relief flooding her face. When she saw the little girl run through the doorway moments later, crying, "Mama!" the woman broke down, wrapping her arms around her daughter and holding her like she'd never let go again. The bikers turned away, letting them have that moment. Diesel rubbed his jaw and muttered, "Man, that's just wrong. No kid should ever have to see that," Hawk said quietly. "She won't again." They stayed until the sheriff arrived, an older man named Miller who knew Hawk from way back. He listened, nodded, and said, "You boys did right. I'll file the report. He won't be back." After the sheriff left, Hawk walked up to the woman. She was sitting on the trailer steps, her arm around her daughter. The girl had stopped crying and was holding a sandwich Bear had brought her. "You got somewhere to go?" Hawk asked. The woman shook her head. "Nowhere. Just me and Ellie. I was saving money to leave, but..." Hawk reached into his vest and pulled out a folded stack of bills. "Then this should help you start over." She blinked, shaking her head. "I can't take that." "You can," he said firmly. "Just promise you'll get her somewhere safe." She took it slowly, her eyes wet with gratitude. "Thank you." "I don't even know your name." "Name doesn't matter," Hawk said, standing up. "Just remember, not all angels have wings. Some ride bikes." The next morning, as the sun rose over the horizon, the iron suns rolled out of the trailer park. The engines roared, echoing through the valley. Ellie ran barefoot after them, waving, her little voice calling, "Thank you!" Hawk looked back once, lifted his hand in a silent salute, and rode on. Weeks later, when they stopped by Ruby's diner again, Hawk saw something pinned to the wall behind the counter, a child's drawing done in crayon. 6 bikers on motorcycles, a woman and little girl waving beside a trailer. At the bottom, written in uneven letters, were the words, "Thank you for saving my mama." Hawk stared at it for a long time before tucking his helmet under his arm and walking out. As the engines roared back to life and faded into the distance, a faint smile crossed his face. Somewhere behind them, a little girl was safe. And that was enough.